Hello, lecture number 1. I want to refer to the content browser and course content. So we need to start looking at units one by one. In each unit you have one or more lessons. So I'm talking about unit 1, lesson 1. So you have a file with suggested reading. It will refer to your ebook. You can skip this or you can read the sections, but since we're in such a quick and fast semester, I copied the material that you can find in the book and put them in lessons here. Lesson 1.1, lesson 2.1.2, and so on. So these are conveniently stored for you and presented for your information from your textbook. So you're welcome to use this instead of the textbook. But the textbook is available in WebAssign. As you remember, WebAssign is where you have your homework and quizzes, midterm and final exams, and also where you can find access to your ebook. So if you go to WebAssign like so, and you get to the website, so your view might be like this, or you might have student view, which is like this one. It's still the same, and here you have home, and here you have my assignments, where the assignments given to you with the due dates, and unit 1, it's just the homework assignment which you need to start doing one by one. If you don't know what is there, the question, so it looks like the first question has some issues here, so I can look at this, and you can look at these assignments and do it when you're ready. Say a tank holds 75 gallons of water which drains from a leak at the bottom, causing the tank to empty in 24 minutes. So understand the word problem. Not all of them will be word problem, just maybe 1/4 of this whole material. The tank drains faster when it's nearly full because the pressure on the leak is greater. Torricelli's law gives the volume of water remaining in the tank after T minutes as this formula. So the tank drains in 24 minutes, so time between 0 and 24, and time is greater or equal to 0, so this is sign greater or equal, less or equal to 24, which is we say in plain language that time is between 0 and 24. Here's the picture. So you see it's not that scary as it looks when you just take a look, first look at this problem. And then you have to find V at 0. What is V? Let's read. Torricelli's law gives you the volume of water remaining in the tank after T minutes. So V at 0. How much water at 0 minutes? T time as the water started leaking. So if it's 0 minutes as water started leaking, it's full tank. You can plug in 0 in this formula, and you see 0 over 24, it's 0, 1 minus 0, 1, 1 squared is 1, 75 times 1, 75. So you enter the number. And V at 24, what happens if T equals 24? 24 over 24 is 1, 1 minus 1, and so on. So what do you answer to part A represents? V at 24 represents the initial value, and v at 0 represent the final value. V at 0 represent the initial value. So which one? The time just started, so at the beginning the tank was full of water. So v at 0 represent the initial value, and v at 24 represents the value, and so on. You can look at this. So this is basic knowledge that you already possess from your previous college algebra courses. And 3 runners complete in a 100-meter hurdle race. The graph below depicts the distance run as function of time for each runner. So you have 3 runners, A, B, and C. Who won the race? What do you think about the race? Who wins the race? The winner of the race is the one who comes to finish line in shortest time. Time is here. Which of these curves has shortest time? So time is here. Which of the curves has shortest time? And this is distance in meters. As you can see, all of them finished at 100 meters. Now your picture might be slightly different because WebAssign generates randomly the questions for you, and so on. Complete the table. Basically, you need to plug in x and calculate the value of the function. What is the function? Function is a relation. You have independent variable x and you have dependent variable. Usually it's y or f of x. So based on the value of x, you calculate the value of f of x or y, and that's why we call y the dependent variable, because for x we can plug in anything from the domain of the function. Domain of the function, I remind you, it's all values that the x can have based on the result, the y value to be a real number. So you don't want to plug in something which turn f of x in something which we call it undefined, or we don't know the value. So we want f of x to be a real number, and that's how we define the domain. Well, let's look next question. Use the function to evaluate the indicated expression. Now instead of a number, you have to replace x by x plus 2. So how would it work? So you copy the function, and I'll do it for you first time. And you copy the function here, f of x equals 3 times x squared plus 2. And when you ask to find f at x plus 2, you need to replace x in f of x. So where we have x, we have x here. You see, we already replaced x over here by x plus 2, so now we need to replace on the right hand side. So we put 3 times, and instead of x we put x plus 2. But what we need to do with x, we need to square. So now we square x plus 2 plus 2. Now another question, how to square x plus 2 squared? There are 2 ways to do it. The degree here, 2 degree, shows you how many times you multiply the base. The base is x plus 2 of this exponential expression by itself. So since it's 2, you have x plus 2 times x plus 2, and you're welcome to FOIL and do so. Or you can use the special formula, the special product formulas, and a plus b squared, which will be helpful to recall, is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So people just notice when they square binomials, they always come to this format. And that's why you can get from here to the result a little bit faster, but you don't have to rush. You can do FOIL method first, FOIL first, outer, inner, and last. So what we do here, in reality, it's much easier. Just follow these simple steps. Not bother yourself, because if you multiply, say, binomial and a trinomial, the FOIL doesn't work. So how to do it practically? You take the first term in the first polynomial and multiply everything by the first term. So x times x, x squared plus 2x, x times 2, 2x, and then you follow by next term. Next term is 2, and multiply everything in the second polynomial. So this way you can multiply any polynomials, regardless how many terms they have, binomials, trinomials, and 2 times 2 is 4. Now it's time to combine like terms. As you can see, we have 2 like terms. When you add 2x and 2x, you don't change the exponent, you just add the coefficients. It's based on the distributive property of multiplication. It will be 4x. And you keep this x squared plus 4x plus 4. It would be the same result if you use, so this is our result, and it would be the same result if you use this formula here and apply. So how we can apply the formula? A is x, b. We just kind of project this expression, x plus 2 squared, to the formula and associate x with a and 2 with b. What needs to be on the right hand side? We need to square x, a squared, x squared, plus 2 times a is x, b is 2, and plus 2 squared. You see? And this is kind of the formulas I would suggest to memorize, but now you can have them on the formula sheet for your quizzes and your midterm and the final exam. We call this formula special product formulas. If you need them, let me know. I can post them for you. So this is the same result. Either you FOIL or you apply the special product formulas. This formula, perfect square trinomial. So what is f of x plus f of 2? Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference between this expression, f of x plus 2, and expression f of x plus f of 2? I see the difference. So what happens here, you will need to find f of x, you need to find f of 2, and add those two and combine like terms, I assume. But we will see whether we will have them or not. So what is f of x? F of x, it's our function as we have here, 3x squared plus 2. That's what we put instead of f of x. And f of 2, it's the 3x squared plus 2. And f of 2, we need to evaluate the function at 2. So what happens if we replace x by 2? We get f of 2. So let's see what is f of 2. 3 times 2 squared plus 2. So please follow the order of operations. PEMDAS. Parentheses, we don't have parentheses here, basically. Exponent, we do have exponent. 2 squared is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Multiplication or division from left to right, so we have 3 times 4 plus 2. And then multiplication and addition. First we do multiplication. 12 plus 2. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 2. It is 14. So we have plus 14. Now we need to combine like terms. Where are the like terms? The like terms, these 3x squared plus 16, and so on. That's how easy, if you did well in your college algebra course, how easy is their homework. Now, f at a, you just replace x by a. F at a plus h, that's similar to f at x plus 2. You replace x by a plus h. So instead of x, you will have a plus h in parentheses, open parentheses, and that's what you have. And then you have to find the quotient, f at a plus h minus f at 8 over h. It's a special difference quotient. We call it difference because difference in numerator and quotient here that we use in calculus. So what will be, how to do it? Again, be careful. So you already have f at a, plug in here expression, you have f at a plus h, plug in here, subtract numerators, means combine like terms, and then you divide by h, everything what you can reduce. If you have questions, we can have extra meeting. Find the domain of the function. So here we have a rational function, and for a rational function, domain are all values of x for which denominator is not 0. What is the denominator in here? The denominator is x minus 2, and we want that denominator not to be 0. Now, why denominator should not be 0? Why? Because division by 0 is undefined. So what happens if it's undefined? No such number exists. And that's what I told you earlier, that if your value of x does not produce a real number, and if it doesn't exist, it's not a real number, that number is not in the domain. So what we're looking here, we're looking for numbers which are not in the domain, because sometimes it's easier to find those which are not in the domain and then exclude them. So how it works, so x equals 2, we added 2 to both sides. So when x equals 2, you get 1 over 2 minus 2, or 1 over 0, which is undefined. No real number exists. Excuse me. So, and that means that we cannot allow x to be equal to, we have to exclude. If this is your number line, negative infinity, positive infinity, we need to make sure that 2 is not included. We show 2 with the empty circle. Every other number is included. And how to write in interval notation? You start writing intervals from left to right. So the very left symbol is negative infinity. Please recall that infinity symbols, negative or positive, always comes with parentheses. 2 is not included, so we exclude by using parentheses. If you use a bracket, it means you allow x to take that value. We do not want x to be equal to. And then next we have second interval on the right. It starts with 2, but not at 2, but right after, to show that we use parentheses. Again, infinity, as I said, it's always with parentheses and union symbol between them to show that any number from here or here, from this interval or this interval, are there in the domain or domain of this function. Find the domain. Domain of square root. Square root of positive number is a positive. Square root of 0 is 0. Square root of negative number is not a real number. So that's why we have to make sure that 7x minus 2 greater or equal to 0. And when you solve this inequality, all numbers solution, so you add 2 and divide by 7, greater or equal to 7. Then make sure you look at the number line and you find these numbers on the number line. Anytime you use the number line, use negative and positive infinity. What happens to 2 7s? 2 7s somewhere here, we use a solid dot, which means that x can be equal to 2 7s. When x equals to 2 7s, we have 7x minus 2 equals 0. Square root of 0 is 0. So that's fine. Where numbers greater to the right, less to the left of the given number. So what is the domain? Domain is 2 over 7, 2 7s. On the right hand side I have infinity, which we always remember comes with parentheses. Alright, so that's another example. And the homework. Find, by looking at this graph, you need to evaluate the function. So g at -4. So first find -4 on x. That's the value of x. -4 on x. And then see where is the graph. The graph is here. Looks like g at -4 is the y value. It's 3. G at -2. Where is -2 on x? And it's 2. G at 0. 0 is here. What is the value of function? G at 2. Here we have 2 points. Which one is correct? The one which has solid dot. So g at 2 is 1. G at 4 is 0. And now you state the domain, how x changes for this picture. The x changes from negative infinity with a bracket, because it's solid point here. Now, do we have a break here? Yes, we do, but we have value of function at x equals 2, so we do not exclude 2. We continue from -2 through all these numbers up to 4 with a bracket because the solid dot. Now, what is the range? The range how y changes. As you can see, the lowest value of y is -2 and the highest is 3. Any breaks? Yes, we do have break here, but at the same time over here we have values. So the range is the y values. It's negative from -2, smallest number included with the bracket, to +3 included, because here, yes, we do have empty circle here, but here we have a solid circle. So -2, +3 with a bracket. Solve the equation. That means you have to move all variables, in this case variable y, to one side, say left side, and all numbers to the other side. They could be left or could be right side, either way. And then you continue with the equation. Find the slope of the line with passing through 2 points, 0, 0 and 10, 6. Let's see how we can do it. So first we need to recall the formula for the slope. The formula for the slope is subtract y coordinates and divide this difference by the difference of x coordinates. So if you have points 0, 0 and you have a point 10, 6, the y coordinates are the second coordinate. So the y coordinates here. So we can subtract 6, subtract 0. So we subtracted these 2. And 10, subtract 0. We have to follow, if we started with this point, so we need to start with that point. And in reality, it doesn't matter which point you start with. You can start, but the corresponding coordinates must follow each other. So 6 minus 0 is 6 over 10. Now we reduce this fraction. This fraction has numerator and denominator have common factor 2. It's 2 times 3, 6, so we will reduce to like so. So we reduce by dividing out 2, and we have 3/5. So the slope is 2/5. Find the equation of the line that satisfies the given conditions. Equation of a line, when you know the slope, is y equals mx plus b. To get to this point, sometimes it's this is slope intercept form. So what do we have here? We have slope of 2/3, and we don't have b. There are two options here. You have a point, so the point 4, 5. 5 is y, slope is 2/3, multiply by 4x plus b. You can solve this equation for b and find b, and then your equation will look like so. Another way to answer this question about the equation of a line is use the point slope form of the line. If you remember, y minus y sub 0 equals m, the slope, times x minus x sub 0. What are these y sub 0, x sub 0? These are the coordinates of this point. So y minus 5 equals to 2/3 x minus 4, and then you open parentheses on the right and bring 5 to the right side, combine like terms, and eventually you get your equation in the form y equals 2/3 x, and you get a number here plus some number. That's what you finish. And the number over here, which we obtained by adding a negative 8/3 and 5, that's what we call y-intercept. So x-intercept and next question and y-intercept are given. So what is x-intercept? So let's look at this, and this is the x and y axes, and we have x-intercept 4, so the line passes through the 4, and y-intercept negative 8. So I don't keep the scale, just give you a little bit of sketch of this situation. So this is our line, and we need to find the equation y equals mx plus b. Again, you can treat this as 2 points. The 4 is on x-axis, so that point has coordinates 4, 0, 0 for y because it's on x-axis, so 0 here. And this point is on y-axis, so x is 0, 0, negative 8. So the y-intercept is actually b, so you can already write the equation y equals mx minus 8, because what happens here, if you plug in x equals 0, this is 0, y equals b. So the point 0 for x, b, that's 0, negative 8. That's the y-intercept. And to find the slope, we subtract. I found that it works well when you line up the points vertically like I did here and subtract. 4 minus 0, 4. 0, subtract negative 4, positive 8. And then the slope, as you remember, is difference in y, where the y is here, 8 over 4, or 8 divided by 4, 2. So basically we have the equation 2x minus 8. That's the equation of this line that passes through these 2 points. So that helps you to refresh on basic algebra. FOIL these two binomials. Again, you can FOIL like so, literally, or you can use the special product formula because you notice that you have the same quantities. So this is a special product formula, A minus B multiplied by A plus B. And this formula is A squared minus B squared. Now you can obtain the same result if you FOIL these two in combined like terms, or you can just look and see that your A is 5x. That's your A. Your B is 8. So, and you need to plug in 5x parenthesis squared minus 8 squared. So 5x, you don't square just 5, or you don't square just x, you square 5x. 5x times 5x is 25x squared, and 8 squared is 64. By the way, you can use your calculator, but simple stuff like this you can use just your knowledge of the multiplication table. Factor. Factoring, please refresh on factoring, and this is another way to apply the same formula. You see, square root of x plus 2 and square root of x minus 2. The same quantities, and this time A is square root. What happens if you have a square root? If you square the square root, you kill it, and you will have just x left minus 2 squared. So with time you will skip this step and you just write the answer, x minus 4. Don't write x squared because we already applied square to remove square root. Alright, so and solve this inequality and show on the number line. You can use empty dot here, or you can use shaded dot, closed circle, parentheses, brackets, and so on. So the same kind of type. Find the x and y intercepts. What are those? Again, this video is just to remind you how to do basic algebra. I will not work all your questions on the homework. I will review some important topics for you, and that's why you need to send me your questions, so I will be targeting just the problems you struggle with. Thank you for your time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.